A massive intelligence failure. That's what a congressional aide briefed on the deaths of 4 U.S. soldiers in Niger now says is partially to blame for that ambush earlier this month. NBC learning new details as the FBI joins the investigation. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers are demanding more answers. They might get some today with Defense Secretary Mattis heading to the Hill. It all comes as the families of the fallen say goodbye. Friends and family members gathering today and tomorrow to honor Sergeant LaDavid Johnson, a final farewell for a hero who gave his life serving our country. But all of this still in the shadow of politics. President Trump overnight tweeting again about his phone call with Johnson's family. Just hours after Trump's chief of staff, a Gold Star father himself, made heartfelt remarks to reporters.
It was an extraordinary moment. He spoke both as a Marine Corps general who has had to make these calls to Gold Star families and as a Gold Star father who was on the receiving end of these phone calls.
If you've never worn the uniform, if you've never been in combat, you can't even imagine how to make that call. But I think he very bravely does make those calls.
Will that quiet the controversy that's followed the president all week?
He aimed to really put this matter to rest. And today, again, it seems to have new oxygen.
When there's criticism directed at the president, he shoots back.
Let's debrief with our team of reporters. With me, NBC intelligence and national security reporter Ken Dilanian. NBC's Hans Nichols is at the Pentagon, Kristen Welker at the White House, and Garrett Haake on Capitol Hill. Ken, let's start with you. You're the one who broke this information. What more can you tell us about what's being called a massive intelligence failure?
Chris, that was the characterization of a congressional official I spoke to. I'm sure the Pentagon wouldn't put it quite that way. But people in Congress who have been briefed on this situation find it inexplicable that a force of as many as 50 enemy were able to amass with heavy weapons in the vicinity of a U.S. Special Operations Unit without the American military knowing about it.
And basically out in the middle of nowhere, right, Ken?
In West Africa, that's
Yep.
right. They're also perplexed that there was no quick reaction force available and on hand to rescue these guys when they got into trouble. Now, consider, in the Vietnam War, it was common for American forces to accidentally bump into enemy in the jungle. But today we have technology. We have drones and satellites and other kinds of technology that should prevent that. But there apparently was no overhead surveillance here, Chris. And people in Congress are asking questions about that. Now, there is a data point. The head of U.S. forces in Africa testified to Congress earlier this year that he didn't have enough intelligence assets, that only 20 to 30% of his missions were covered by intelligence and surveillance assets, and also that he was relying on contractors to go rescue troops when they got into trouble. So these same congressional officials who are making an issue out of this were, in a sense, put on notice that there was a problem here, Chris.
And Garrett,